Are you sitting at home feeling antisocial? Well, then this episode is not for you, because it's all about social on This Week in VR. So first I want to apologize to everybody out there for not having a video up in a couple of weeks. We actually experienced a little bit of a structural problem here at the den. We had a pipe burst, and we've been spending some time with the contractors actually taking care of that. And as anybody would say, not usually wise to fire a VR or any other form of equipment around the supposed source of water. So we were out for a couple of weeks, but we thank you, and we are back. So unfortunately today, as I mentioned, it is all about social, and this week we've got to start with a little bit of bad news. Widely known to many of us, AltSpace VR has officially shut down. They actually have to throw in the towel. Now, for many of us, AltSpace VR was the definitive, go-to hangout in virtual reality, pretty much allowing us to socialize, engage, and even participate in special events, regardless of whatever HMD device that we had. However, as with all startups that are involved in new technology, there's a lot of built-in risk to that. Many survive solely on venture capital and limited hardware sales. It can be tough go, and AltSpace VR kept the steamboat moving. However, with Facebook Spaces quietly building from within and focusing on stories rather than marketing to achieve their internal goals, it could very well replace AltSpace as the go-to social meeting place in VR. And while AltSpace VR is shutting down, Linden Lab, who many of you may know as the company that built Second Life, is working on a new social world creator called Sansar. Now, Sansar's goal is for users to create their own worlds, and not just developers. And the cool part about this is people can actually open and explore these worlds freely and together. So I guess the best way really to describe it would be, kind of think VR, and Minecraft, meet the Oasis from Ready Player One. At least that's the general concept. World building will naturally be done outside of VR, but once it's done, then you can basically port them right over to your Rift or Vive and view them right after you're done creating them. So it's a pretty cool concept. Now, one of the cool features of Sansar is the folks who create their own assets will be able to sell them online via a digital storefront for basically what's called Sansar dollars, which can then at that point be cashed out to PayPal. So you're not only going to have the ability to create worlds, but monetize them later in the future. Now, this could potentially be something you see a lot of advertisers and companies get behind. So similar to basically, if you remember Second Life back in the 90s, kind of how H&R Block got behind doing tax returns in Second Life. Now, I'm not saying that I want to spend my time on, Walmart World per se, but the idea that this is potentially being considered at this time is really a huge step forward. And yours truly happens to be one of the beta testers, and will be sharing my own opinion with you in the near future. I gotta be honest, at first glance, the system is not quite as easy as they say. You do have to have some form of a programming and script language as far as game development. So if you've already got some background in that, you shouldn't find this too much of an issue. But with some preloaded utilities, textures, maps, and everything else, it actually looks to be a fairly robust system that you can get for free outside of paying for your own components. So I'll keep playing with it, and if it looks as though it's going to be promising, as I hope it's going to be, given Linden Labs' history, then I will definitely let everybody know out there. Speaking of social interaction, Oculus is finally rolling out something that many of us have been clamoring for a long time, and that's a new social function called Parties. No, we're not talking about your typical high school kegger. What this basically means is that 4 people can simultaneously actually chat across multiple apps. And what that means is you're not actually bound to the application that you're in. Somebody could be on Star Trek Bridge Crew, for example, while conversing with somebody who's playing Robo Recall, as it's all tied through the Oculus home screen. So it's actually a pretty unique feature. Hoping to gain a few more followers actually within the Rift that I can actually try this out with. So for the 3 of you that I know here in the Valley, get on board, guys. Be cool to chat with you across the Rift. Now, in an official statement, basically Oculus came out and stated that in Oculus Home or the Universal menu, you can select a friend and choose Invite to Party. Now, friends in your party can chat with you across Rift apps or wherever you go in VR. Each party can support a total of 4 people at a time, and each person must have the public test build installed to use parties on Rift. So there you have it, the official statement from Oculus. If you haven't tried it, go try it out. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments section below. I'd love to get everybody's feedback. So that about does it for this week's episode of This Week in VR. I'm going to kind of keep it a little bit shorter this week because I really wanted to truncate a lot of the content to the social aspects, giving the mind-blowing announcement that Altspace is actually having to shut down. And I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Is this something that you're really, really upset about like the rest of us because it was a pretty engaging platform? Is it something that you saw on the horizon? Go ahead and engage with me in the comments section below, and let's talk a little bit about this, because I think this is going to be a hurdle that a lot of people are going to be coming up against and a lot of developers are going to be having as we move forward with the industry. So that's all for now. Hey, if you've got the trial for Partisan, get installed, and hopefully, guys, I'll see you in the Rift. Take care.